And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. It is that time of year again. Miller's Mission. We'll be making our big announcement this hour, next hour, and the hour after, what our theme is for the spring edition of Miller's Mission. Looking forward to, once again, helping our friends at the Boise Rescue Mission. And when you think of the Boise Rescue Mission, and when you think of what's going on in the world today, the charitable deductions have been reduced, nonprofits across the country are feeling the pinch. We need you now more than ever to help us help Treasure Valley families. And very excited about this year's theme. And if you're new to the Treasure Valley, we'll explain that coming up very, very soon. Joining us now is Alfredo Ortiz, coming to us from Washington, D.C. And Mr. Ortiz, thank you for joining us when we're thinking about the economy. Certainly jobs, jobs, jobs. You are the president and CEO of the Job Creators Network. Good morning.
Good morning. You took the words right out of my mouth, Kevin. Jobs, jobs, jobs. This was an amazing report on past Friday.
Well,
couldn't have been more excited about that.
Yes, sir. Let's delve into this. Historically, where are we when we're talking about jobs and unemployment?
Well, it is unbelievable where we are. In fact, unemployment rate is so low. The last time we saw these rates was when man first walked on the moon back in 1969. That's how good we're doing. And across every single demographic group, Kevin, unemployment is at historic lows. Hispanic, for example, the lowest rate ever recorded for Hispanic unemployment. And even better than that, even folks without even high school degrees, for example, some of the lowest unemployment levels that they've seen. It's dropped from about record highs of 15, 17% down to 5%, 5.5%.
Well, Mr. Ortiz, what do we attribute this to?
Well, Kevin, it's really easy. This an unbelievable economy has everything to do with the deregulation, basically getting rid of a lot of that red tape that held our economy back. Lower taxes, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that passed that, frankly, a lot of the folks in the media are saying didn't really help anybody, didn't help the economy. I mean, we're living it right now. We're seeing how great it is. And frankly, improved access to capital and credit. A lot of our small business owners were pinched when the Dodd-Frank Act went through, and with fixes from the Trump administration, lending is back to small businesses, and that's the trifecta for our economy right now.
Well, when we take a look at this, it is amazing. So, what were the differences between what we have today and what we have during the Obama administration?
Again, absolute record lows, and we have. Since Donald Trump was actually elected back in 2016, almost 6 million jobs have been filled. And again, a lot of this is driven. First, it started with getting rid of that red tape. I don't think people realize just how much that red tape, the high regulatory environment under the Obama administration, was strangling the economy. There were estimates that were saying that on a yearly basis, Kevin, $1.6 trillion of costs were going to handle the regulatory environment that existed back then. And that was one of the things President Trump did almost immediately, was trying to roll back some of that red tape, excessive red tape, right? Because we obviously have to have regulations, from a safety standpoint, but they just were going way too far, and it was strangling our economy, especially our small business owners. At Job Creators Network, we really advocate for. And Kevin, there are 30 million small business owners. So when these 30 million small business owners feel the unleashing of the economy and allowing their entrepreneurial spirits to work, this is what you get. You get some great, great growth numbers, again, driven by, this trifecta of changes under the Trump administration.
Well, when we take a look at how long can it last, I guess that's easier said than done.
Yeah, so, from our perspective, I think, a lot of people called it a sugar high. I'm sure you've probably heard that phrase. This is not a sugar high. I mean, this is continuation really of just great economic policies that were put in place. It's really truly what they call simple economics, and the focus on jobs has really what's been what's driving a lot of this growth. If you also see wage growth is fantastic, and we're seeing 3.2% wage growth again. I mean, I believe it's the ninth straight month of this kind of wage growth. And again, we're seeing it not really only on the white collar, but also blue collar job, which is fantastic. We haven't seen that kind of wage growth in a tremendously long time. And so again, a lot of this is driven by just that great economic environment that's been created over the past couple of years.
Alfredo Ortiz joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, Job Creators Network. So many people are worried about the Fed possibly raising rates. Many people attribute that to what caused the great crash the last time. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, so I do believe that the rate hikes that were happening last year were slowing down the economy. Some of it was really also overblown from that perspective. I think the Fed really didn't necessarily fundamentally have to do that. We had been calling for a rate cut actually and at the end of last year, that last quarter point that they ended up taking, and we just completely think was unnecessary. Inflation is in check. Nothing's run, from an economy standpoint, nothing's running away. I actually do believe that we could get, this economy could use a quarter to a half a point rate cut. I know that seems kind of counterintuitive, but it's better to have what I call preventive. It's better to take your vitamins than to take medicine, for a cold. Let's try to prevent it. And I think if we can do something to continue to infuse growth in the economy, I think a quarter rate to a half rate cut from the Fed could be a good thing. But I think the markets could also then overreact to that and go, oh, maybe that's a signal that we're slowing down. We're not slowing down, Kevin. I mean, people continue to invest back in their businesses. Again, our small business owners that we represent, 30 million of them out there that exist, they continue to invest in people, in wages, and in capital goods, and making sure that their businesses continue to grow.
When we take a look at real wage growth, though, you have many people that are concerned, still working 2 or 3 jobs to make it. We've got the jobs going. What about the wages?
Well, wages are continuing to grow. It's some of the strongest wage growth we've seen in a tremendously long time. Wage growth, for example, even with folks without a college degree, that those wages are increasing. The reality here is that we've got to find ways of bringing certain pieces in our economy that are down. It is very expensive when we talk about healthcare, for example, healthcare, prescription drugs. This is something that is hurting a lot of Americans. We have to find a solution for that. We obviously were disappointed. I'm not sure, Kevin, how familiar you are, but it was something called Association Health Plans for our small business owners. It was something the Labor Department had put forth, and unfortunately that was put on hold by a lawsuit that was filed by Democratic attorney generals led by Massachusetts and New York. That was a huge opportunity for small business owners to provide benefits back to their employees. About a third of small business owners had to actually cut healthcare benefits to its employees because Obamacare was getting so expensive for them. This was a great opportunity to do that. That went away. We're obviously disappointed that we need more ideas like that to be able to provide healthcare coverage, for example, to employees of small business owners. But in an affordable way. Right now, it's just not affordable.
Indeed. And when we take a look at just the plight of small business, it seems that small business like law enforcement, they were under siege during the Obama years.
Kevin, they really were. I can't tell you, when we first started really pushing on understanding small business owners and what was going on, I remember touring the country and talking to small business owners at these conferences and different conventions, and really seeing just the despair, frankly, in their voices. I mean, some of them literally breaking down at the table saying that we've been in business, this is a family business for 50 years, 60 years. We may have to close up shop because we just can't handle the regulations, the red tape, the taxes are so high. And now the enthusiasm, I mean, people are excited. I mean, you go up to these conferences, people are excited about the economy. They're investing back in their businesses. American entrepreneurialism is back, Kevin, and that's what we're so excited about. And that's what we need to keep pushing for. And we're very concerned, I have to tell you, going into next year's election, this whole idea of socialism versus capitalism. This is a true fight, and this is going to be something that, as a country, we're going to have to decide what kind of country we want to be. Do we really want to be a socialist country like Venezuela? Or do we want to continue to live the great American dream stories that we hear over and over and that our founding fathers believed in?
Mr. Alfredo Ortiz joining us, Kevin Miller, Job Creators Network. So let's go back to the fight against socialism. Who would have ever thought that would be a real-life discussion here in America today?
Well, I'll tell you, we really salute the president because at his State of the Union address this year, he said, we are drawing a line in the sand and we will not be a socialist country. But to your point, isn't it sad that an American president actually now has to make that statement? That's just a sad state of affairs that we're really actually having this kind of conversation. But I have to tell you, the Democrats have labeled socialism or kind of defined it in their way of convincing millennials that socialism equals social good. And anybody who actually understands what socialism is about, and quite frankly, you just have to turn on your TV and watch Venezuela, what's going on there. That is socialism gone amok, right? This is what happens when politicians overpromise to the American people so that they can get elected, to their the constituents to get elected, and then they can't deliver. Because you can't pay for everything. You can't give everything away. And this is what, the Democrats are talking about when they talk about the Green New Deal and Medicare for all. $33 trillion price tag, for example, on Medicare for all that Bernie Sanders has put forth and that other presidential contenders on the Democrat side are supporting and are rallying behind. It's unbelievable to watch this. And that's why at Job Creators Network, we're fighting this fight. I'm not sure if, Kevin, you saw these billboards. We put up some billboards against Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, just highlighting some of the craziness that she promotes as part of the Democrat Party. But really, this is what's happening to the Democratic Party right now. It is becoming a socialist party.
If people want more information, sir, what can they do?
JobCreatorsNetwork.com is where they can go to get more information, JobCreatorsNetwork.com. We would encourage anybody who's interested in the American dream, in fighting that fight, please go there, look us up, become a member. We have free memberships on the way up. So, there's no excuse for you not to be a member at JobCreatorsNetwork.com. We need all the help we can get. We need people to support us and to really help fight this fight that's growing right now against socialism. So it's probably one of the most important fights we've had in our lifetime.
Well, we appreciate it, sir. Take care, and we'd love to have you back.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Miller in the morning. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, remember the Covington, Kentucky kids? You remember them? Well, remember how much coverage the Covington, Kentucky kids received? Well, what would happen if you had a group of children, let's say they were Christian children, chanting they will chop off heads of people that disagree with Jesus? Well, that didn't happen, but you believe it would be worldwide coverage, right? Well, coming up next, there's a story out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where you have the Islamic Center children singing, quote, they will chop off their heads for Allah. It's being investigated. Of course, it's not being covered. We'll tell you about that. Double Standard next. Waking up on the right side, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. And we've been teasing this for quite some time. And, it's funny. In radio, you're supposed to be smooth and you're supposed to, talk without pauses and do all these crazy things. And sometimes I catch myself trying to do that. Hey, blah, blah, blah. But, here we do our very best to be real and to be genuine and to be authentic. And for so many years, we've been blessed to be a part of Miller's Mission. I say it's 2011, but it was really 2010 when we started Miller's Mission, living at the Boise Rescue Mission. And if you're not familiar with the area, let me just give you a quick recap. Twice a year, thanks to so many people that make this happen. Thanks to you. Thanks to the Nampa Walmart at Garrity and Franklin. Thanks to the city of Nampa. Thanks to Canyon County and Ada County. We and the city of Meridian, we live at the Walmart there, and Camping World usually provides us a nice RV to stay there. And we collect, in the fall, we collect turkeys. And we collect money to benefit the Boise Rescue Mission. And the Boise Rescue Mission has been around for 60 years. They don't collect any government funds. They do their very best to help people get back up on their feet and to make a difference, not only in their lives, but the lives of the people that they impact. And the spring is a challenging one because in the fall, everybody gives. In the fall, everybody gives. So one of the first Miller's missions we did was we went in the spring. And the spring is tough. Usually usually it was the last week of June, but that's when in the days, like the sun doesn't go down until, 10:45. So what we did is a couple years ago, we switched it to the last week before Memorial Day weekend, before the summer really kicks off in May. And coming up this year, we will be once again living at the Walmart, Garrity and Franklin, from May 20th through the 25th. And that's thanks to Camping World, Team Mazda Subaru. They sponsor it. They allow us to do this. We can't go out to schools, although we'd like to. We can't help people in our community if we don't have people that pay for it. And Team Mazda Subaru pays for it. And they provide our equipment and everything else. So this year, we're starting a little earlier. And this year, we're asking you to be a part of the Penny Patrol. That's right, pennies. Now, some people will say that pennies are insignificant, that we live in a paperless world, a cashless world, and, pennies really don't matter. Well, for us, they do. So what we're going to do is, and again, this is a grassroots effort as I grab my giant-sized pennies here, is we're going to ask people if you would like to be a part of the Penny Patrol. And basically what happens is and I've got to go find containers because, again, this is a small business operation here. And I'll put a container at your business. I'll let people know where your container is, and you can be a part of the Penny Patrol. Now, there is a donation that goes to the Boise Rescue Mission. And I can go over that with you. You can just email me, Kevin at KIDOTalkRadio.com. But our goal is to collect as many pennies as possible, really supercharge it. And you're saying, well, Kevin Miller, I work a job like you. I can't collect it. Well, you can collect your pennies and even your not so pennies at home, and you can bring them to the Nampa Walmart on Garrity and Franklin. And what we want people to do, whether you're a business, whether you're an individual, is collect all these pennies, and that entire week we're going to collect pennies. And hopefully, through your help, through your work, through your diligence, we will have a good year for the Boise Rescue Mission. Now, charitable giving is down thanks to the changes in the tax code. I was talking to an accountant last week during my endless need of Kevin Miller to have a backup career, because you never know how long this gig's going to last. And you got to protect yourself, folks. That's a true story. And the accountant said, well, that it's double the donate, it's double the write-off, so people aren't giving anymore. But charitable giving is still going. No, charitable giving is down. So what we would ask you to do is your kids, if you're a kid at heart, collect as many or as few pennies and change as you can and bring it to the Nampa Walmart. And if you'd like to be a part of the Penny Patrol, and when you're part of the Penny Patrol, I will come out to your business. We'll shoot a video. We'll drive people to that. And hopefully, through the generosity of you and your customers, we will, in fact, make a difference. Now, what do you have to do? Just email me, Kevin, at KIDOTalkRadio.com. That's Kevin at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Let's get you to work safely and on time. KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Dave. KIDO Talk Radio weather from the Channel 7 First Alert Weather Center. High today of 78, low tonight 48, and high tomorrow of 76. Rolling right along, Kevin Miller in the morning. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, you remember the big thing about the Covington, Kentucky kids and how bad they were, and Catholics and Christians and everybody, they were filled with hate. Well, children in Philadelphia, the Muslim Society of Philadelphia, you're going to love this. It has been ignored by every major news outlet, except the conservative news network, if you will, not to be confused with CNN. The Muslim Society of America and their Islamic Center in Philadelphia initially posted a video of children adorned in Palestinian scarves singing in celebration of Ummah Day in April. Now, if I mispronounced Ummah Day, I apologize. But translation by Middle East Media Research Institute revealed the threatening nature of their lyrics. Now, for those of you that speak Palestinian, you're going to recognize this. If not, I'm going to translate. We will defend the land of our divine guidance with our bodies. These are little kids, right? And we will sacrifice our souls without hesitation. Certainly not Amazing Grace, y'all. We will chop off their heads, and we will liberate the soulful and exalted Al-Aqsa Mosque. We will lead the army of Allah, fulfilling his promise. Now, imagine the shock from the major networks when at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, this has not been covered. Comparatively speaking, the Covington, Kentucky kids, which remember, we found out that was a made-up story, was covered how many times? Now, when people talk about, well, the news media, they pick their favorites. Now, the Muslim Society issued a statement on Friday apologizing for the songs, claiming the incident was an unrelated, unintended mistake. Well, I don't think there's any mistake when you have children talking about chopping people's heads off. Now, again, this isn't a relation to all people that practice the faith of Islam, but why aren't the networks covering this as much as they covered the Christian Covington, Kentucky kids? You know, that the media picks and chooses losers. So why are people turning away from God? Why are people all of a sudden saying that Christianity is bad and this is good? Well, because the media puts it that way. That's why the critical thinking skills are so important. We'd love to get your thoughts on this at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Maggie. Out to Rachel Sutherland, Fox News Radio in the Treasure Valley, exclusively on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
So a big showdown day for the president and his tax team.
Absolutely. And really, it's been a kind of a game of hot potato between the head of the IRS and the head of the Treasury Department. Democrats in the House are saying that Charles Rettig, the IRS commissioner, is the one who has the authority to release the president's tax returns. They've requested 6 years of them by today. But the commissioner says it's really Stephen Mnuchin over at the Treasury Department. That's really his wheelhouse. So you have this going back and forth. And I kind of doubt, though, Kevin, that the president or the administration is going to release these tax returns. The president said he's not going to do that while he's under audit.
Well, and again, then you have other people wanting to go after the president and his tax returns, whether it's Congress, whether it's the Southern District of New York, it just seems to never ending with this issue, and the president, he remains very firm, as you've said.
Absolutely, and we kind of need almost a dry erase board to deal with all the fights between the House Democrats and the White House. A deadline here in about 20 minutes for the Justice Department to allow lawmakers to come to a secure location to look at the unredacted Mueller report. So we'll see if that deadline is met. And it just really looks like it's going to be heading to court because I just kind of doubted on that one, too. The president making it clear that this is over. He tweeted he did not want Robert Mueller to testify, although a tentative date has been set of May 15th for him to come before the House Judiciary Committee. So no word if that's, confirmed or whether or not the Justice Department could block that. I'm just not sure about that.
Well, and then you've got the whole fight over Don McGahn and everybody else.
That's correct. The president doesn't want additional people to be testifying. He's saying it's time to move on, Don McGahn being his former counsel. But I don't know. Maybe they could try to assert executive privilege over his testimony, but I'm not quite sure about that in the legalities. But Congress wants to ask him about reports, in the Mueller report, the president leaning on him to ask the deputy attorney general to get rid of Robert Mueller. Of course, it never happened as far as Mueller leaving. So they want to hear from him. It just seems, Democrats want to keep up the investigations, whereas the White House is saying nothing to see here.
Imagine that. They want to move on.
Yes, they want to move on.
Rachel, thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. By the way, in breaking news in the entertainment world, last night on Game of Thrones, if you watched it, yes, they really did leave a Starbucks coffee cup in one shot. And this is the craziest thing that just drives people crazy, that you have people that are all about this show that you can only get if you pay extra. First of all, you have to pay for cable. well, then you have to pay extra for HBO, or I guess you can get the HBO app. And then to be able to watch this show and to go back and watch this show again and again, that you find a coffee cup that you can only see for a millisecond. And that's what the mainstream folks are, quote unquote, trending or buzzing about today. Wait till you see that. People will be talking about that all the time as fans spot the coffee cup mistakenly left in a Game of Thrones scene. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We've got a couple things going on. Coming up, we'll tell you about one Democratic presidential candidate rolling out a proposal for gun control. That's right. As if we don't have enough proposals on gun control. That would be wonderful and an exciting thing. Also, we have another, how shall we put this? We have another ballot initiative that seeks to raise the minimum wage here in the Gem State. Let's go over it. A Boise-based group, Idahoans for a Fair Wage, has started to organize a campaign to increase the minimum wage to $12 an hour from $7.25 over 4 years. Idaho's current minimum wage is the same as the federal minimum wage. Now, by the way, the federal minimum wage hasn't changed since 2009. That's one issue. Number two, you have people advocating openly. I expect the House of Representatives to pass this to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Now, currently, 12 states have raised their minimum wage, and now you have a group here in Idaho saying it's time to raise Idaho's minimum wage. Now, again, think about this. Idaho, is only one of 12 states that follow federal minimum wages. Someone working 40 hours per week, 52 weeks a year, will earn $58 per day, $15,000 per year. The national poverty line for a family of two people is $16,020. Idaho also makes some exceptions for the minimum wage. Employers can now pay new employees who are younger than 20 a training wage of $4.25 per hour for the first 90 days. Now, if you're a worker, you're going to see this, let's raise the minimum wage. If you're a business owner, you're going to see this the other way. Let's keep it the way it is. But really, $4.25 an hour for somebody younger than 20? Now, again, I understand that we have to be competitive at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, but $4.25, so you're being hit and being penalized for your age. I can't see how that is an ageism. By the way, in this market today, you can go to many places and start at 12 or even higher, like the call centers, I believe, are higher than that. Of course, then you have to hear from cranky people throughout the day. Let's go to Hank in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Hank.
Yeah, I couldn't resist listening to that story about those sweet Muslim children over there in Philadelphia singing "Let's Behead." You know, the point that gets about it is if let's take somebody in the news media, the guy that used to co-host in CNN with Kathy Griffin at New Year's, or I can't think of his name at the moment, but that Sharia law, he would be beheaded for being a gay.
Oh, Anderson Cooper.
Anderson Cooper, he would, yes, he would. And the people forget what the riots in Paris were all about. It wasn't asserting Muslim rights. It was the right to, in their areas that they controlled in Paris, to impose Sharia law on non-Muslims, the burning of tires and all this good stuff. So there's a reason why Islam is called Islam in Arabic. It means submission. This religion is about peace and goodness and brotherhood. It's about making everybody submit to all and submit to their ways, because their way is the only way. And the other thing that just really, really soaks you, these victory mosques. The Dome of the Rock, who the sweet Philadelphia children are singing about, is a victory mosque. That's what the Muslims do when they take over or conquer an area or proclaim a victory. They plant a mosque, and it was deliberately done to be on top of the Holy of Holies, the Kodashim, at the Temple Mount. And that stupid Mayor Bloomberg in New York, what a liberal boo. He's kind of like in the regular of our North End liberals here in Boise. He couldn't recognize the fact that why the Muslims wanted to build a mosque so badly on the site of the Trade Center thing was also a victory march to proclaim their victory in bringing down the Twin Towers. But, you know, oblivious liberals can never see reality if you told them. And if you did tell them, they wouldn't believe you. So I'll leave it at that.
All right. Well, we thank you very much. We appreciate it.
One more thing I was going to slip right in there. I'm on my way, Dad. You might down to old Liberty Linda's territory with the St. George. As soon as I get into my car, I'm going to head that direction. I'm going to go see Bryce Canyon or Zion National Park and Bryce National Park. Also, I take a look at that temple down there in St. George. And that podium, there's some dent marks put in there by Brigham Young when he dedicated the temple in January 1877. If it's open to that part of it's open to the public, so I'd love to see those dents. I've been told that those dents are still there on that podium.
Well, let us know. Give us a report on the dents, would you?
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you're just tuning in, there was a situation in Philadelphia where you had a group of Muslim kids singing in Palestinian language that they will chop off people's heads and do it for Allah. We played that for you last half hour, and no one's covering this story, of course. And by the way, that's available at the Kevin Miller Show Facebook site, thanks to our friends at newsbusters.org. But, think about the Covington, Kentucky kids. Oh, evil Catholic Christian kids bullying. And they really weren't bullying. They had they were the definition of restraint. That story was covered millions of times. This story ignored, where you have a group of school children advocating violence, right? Where's the double standard there? Why doesn't the media do their job? They don't want to do their job because it's not about reporting. It's unfortunately about indoctrinating. And speaking of indoctrinating, guess who's back?
Speaking of dignity, it means we have to protect, which is not happening now, the single most important right you have as an American, the right to vote. The right to vote. And folks, last year, 24 states introduced or enacted at least 70 bills to curtail the right to vote. And guess what? Mostly directed at, quote, people of color. You see it. We got Jim Crow sneaking back in. No, I mean it. It's all why?
And his eyes get all bug-eyed, if you will. I mean it. I'm not just lying. I mean it. I'm Joe Biden. I mean it. Yeah, the 24 states are trying to stop voter fraud. It's trying to stop illegals from voting. I get so frustrated sometimes when I go to vote because I have to show my ID. And I think you have to should show your ID. I think you should have to show your ID. What is so wrong with that? How is that voter suppression? If you don't have an ID, if you're not here legally, if you don't have a home that you can call residence to, if you're going from one place to another, you got to have a utility bill, right? Anybody can have a utility bill, right? A utility bill and a driver's license. Is that asking too much? Is that voter suppression? Is that Jim Crow?
Why? Because they know. You saw it in North Carolina. You saw what happened in Georgia. You saw what happened in...
What happened in Georgia? That's right. The Republicans won despite Oprah, despite everything else. To me, the Democrats are just sore losers. Stacey Abrams lost. The North Carolina thing is under investigation. We do such a disservice when we have people in the media and then we have people in politics destroying the credibility of our process. And by the way, I'm sitting there watching one of these shows the other night, and they're talking about the same thing. And people look at it like, yeah, man, they're suppressing the vote. No, it's called rules and regulations. So if you're just waking up, a few topics that we'd love to hear what you have to say about. Idaho raising the minimum wage. We will share that with you. We'd love your thoughts at 580-5436. By the way, we'll have Dave Petzo comment on that coming up. Also, this issue where you have kids chanting that they're going to chop off the heads of people for Allah. Why isn't that being covered by the media? And then you have Mr. Hype, Mr. Hyperbole, Sleepy Joe, saying the GOP is bringing back Jim Crow. I know. Just makes you want to put your pillow over your head and go to sleep for another 20 minutes. But we can't. We're rolling. You're listening to Kevin Miller on your home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio time is 6:54. Phone numbers 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Let's go back to the phones. Max in Garden City with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Max.
Good morning, Kevin Miller. I'd like to talk about the Muslim situation, this children at the school. First of all, remember, let me ask you, have you read the Quran?
Nope.
Okay, I actually have. I think largely it is a book of intolerance. I'm not going to say hate because hate is the child of intolerance. And the Quran and the race of Islam are just heaped with intolerance, hence Sharia law. Christians still make up the majority of this world, the largest Christian group being the Catholics. Come to Boise. If you took the Catholics all over Boise and took the Latter-day Saints all over Boise and put them together, you wouldn't have much left. It's a case of respecting. And take a look at Catholicism. Very, very tolerant. Look at the local Mormons. Very tolerant. You don't hear Christians in our area or anywhere screaming off with their heads, cut off his hands, pull a wall down upon him. No, Barack Obama, you're wrong. It's not a book of peace. Watch it is. To quote a movie producer, all they want is peace. A little piece of Israel, a little piece of Palestine, a little piece. It's a sad situation when we tolerate intolerance to such a point that they begin to destroy us with our own freedoms. They use our own weapons of kindness against us. And make no doubt, radical Islam takes kindness as weakness, and they go for the jugular. If I've offended someone out there, that's too bad. I really don't care. The truth is the truth. So if you don't like it, suck on it. Have a nice day. Thank you, Kevin.
Max, have a blessed day. We appreciate it. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
Mueller should testify. We should have the full unredacted report.
You can debate the rhetoric or the discussion in it, or the spin or whatever you want to call it. But the conclusion is no indictment for collusion, no indictment for conspiracy, no indictment for obstruction of justice. Now, I think many of my Democratic friends have accepted that. Some haven't. Many of my Democratic friends thought that Mueller was going to indict the president.
I mean, to me, it seems fairly clear from the evidence that he has committed impeachable offenses.
As far as I'm concerned, there's work to be done on the Mueller report in Volume 1 to protect us from Russian interference. The fact that the President of the United States had this conversation with Vladimir Putin within the last several days and didn't raise this issue after the Mueller report, what is he thinking? We don't want to relive what happened in 2016 in the United States. The Russians ought to take their hands off of our election process.
Sure. How are we going to do that, little Dickie Durbin? They just won't give it up with the Russians and the taxes and the collusion, delusion, the obstruction function. It is just crazy. Coming up, we'll have more on that. Coming up, Dave Petzel will join us as well. Do want to remind you, we are inviting people to join us on the Penny Patrol, Miller's Mission. We want your pennies. We'll be living at the Walmart, Gary and Franklin, from the 20th through the 25th. You and your business, your friends, your scout troop can be a part of it. Just simply email me, Kevin, at KIDOTalkRadio.com. We want to drive people to collect their pennies and make sure they give them to us to benefit the Boise Rescue Mission, brought to you by our friends at Team Mazda Subaru. We're just getting started on the right side. Fox News next. Good morning.